I'm just reading Eddie Hearn's tweet now, or Instagram, I should say. Olympic gold v Olympic gold. Unified world heavyweight champion v undisputed world cruiserweight champion. The list goes on and on. We're going to turn our attention now to boxing because just before we came on, it was announced that Anthony Joshua's next fight will be against Oleksandr Usyk on the 25th of September at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Here to tell us more is the man in question, chairman of Matchroom Promotions. The wonderful Eddie Hearn joins us this afternoon on Drive. Eddie, hello, how are you?
I'm good, Andy. How are you, mate? You gave me a few goosebumps with that Klitschko stuff, back at the stadium. So, looking forward to another big stadium fight.
Yeah, listen, just tell us a bit more about this. How long has this been in the making for? When did you actually get the green light on it as well?
Well, I think, it's well documented, wasn't it? The AJ Tyson Fury stuff for the undisputed and Oleksandr Usyk standing in the way of that being the mandatory challenger for the WBO world title. And we were moving towards a Fury fight. All of a sudden he pulled out of the fight and couldn't take it. And then we had to face our mandatory, which just happens to be Oleksandr Usyk. As you said earlier, Olympic gold against Olympic gold at London 2012. Unified world heavyweight champion against undisputed cruiserweight champion. It's a real fight. And as disappointed as many of us were about the Fury fight having to be put on ice, this is the biggest fight out there, away from that. And it's a real tough challenge for AJ. And going to be a great fight, and I can't wait to stage the first big fight at Spurs' wonderful new stadium.
Eddie, this is a typical, the O's got to go, isn't it? This is, huge.
Yeah, I mean, look, for Usyk, obviously he's undefeated. Many feel that can he mix it with the big boys in the heavyweight division? He's a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter. He beat everyone at cruiserweight. He become undisputed there, and, it's a tough test for AJ. And AJ's a throwback fighter. I think he deserves a lot of credit. You look at his resume from fighting Dillian White, Klitschko, Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin, Ruiz twice, then Pulev, and now Usyk. These are consecutive fights. So he's got these belts that he holds so proudly, and he has to defend them against his mandatory challengers. This time around, it's a tough one. It's a really tough one, but it's a great fight.
Eddie, let me ask you, the pot of gold, of course, for Joshua is going to be that Tyson Fury fight. There's a great documentary, I'm sure you've seen it, ironically called Chasing Tyson, which is about Holyfield trying to pin down a fight for Mike Tyson. Everything was in place, and then Tyson went and lost to someone called Buster Douglas. That fight eventually did happen. I just wonder, this is a massive fight. This is a big risk for Joshua, isn't it?
It is, and that's why I think he needs to be applauded, because it was disappointing when that fight didn't take place. But to be, given two heavyweight fights, like even Fury against Wilder, I know he's beaten him twice, but it's still an exciting fight. Something could happen. But AJ Usyk is a tremendous heavyweight fight. So at least we've got two proper fights where, like you said, anything could happen. So, that dream of undisputed has been in the background for a long time now, and it remains. But you just can't take your eye off the ball in this fight. We're not even thinking about Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, just thinking you just got to beat Oleksandr Usyk, because it's really a case of winner stays on. You can forget about the undisputed championship if he doesn't beat Usyk at Spurs on September 25th. So we hope that Tyson Fury, if he does get in the ring with Wilder, eventually beats him, and hopefully AJ beats Usyk at the same time, and then we can get it done. But right now, you can't take the eye off the ball. Remember we talked about the undisputed fight with Wilder when he boxed Andy Ruiz. Everyone remembers what happens there at Madison Square Garden, but this is a real test. So AJ's got to be dialed in for this one.
Eddie, where does AJ win this fight? Is it because of his height, because of his reach?
Yeah, I think, AJ's improving all the time. He likes to show the skills that he's developed and the skills that he's working on. For me, I don't want to see too much of that against Usyk, because he's arguably the most skillful fighter pound for pound in world boxing. So I think AJ's got to use his size. You saw in the Derek Chisora fight with Usyk, he was giving Usyk hell for the first 3 or 4 rounds just by bombarding him with his size. AJ's a lot faster than Chisora. He punches harder. He's sharper. He's technically better. So I think he's got a box with him, but at the same time, he's got to use his size. When he cuts him off and backs him up, he's got to throw 6-7 punch combinations anywhere, Perry. Side of the head, arms, body, chest. It doesn't matter. Use your size, use your power, use your strength. And it's going to be tricky. It's going to be very tricky. And the more that Usyk gets into this fight, the tougher it's going to be for Anthony. So establish yourself early, show your strength, show your spite, and look to take this guy out.
Eddie, I was going to ask you a question about the last time that Joshua fought was the end of last year, December, against Pulev. And, he's been out the ring for a long time. But then I suppose they all have because of what's been going on in the world. So none of that really counts for anything, does it?
Yeah, I'd love AJ to be a little bit more active. And COVID was a killer for all live sport, wasn't it? I mean, if you look at Tyson Fury, by the time he gets in the ring with Wilder, he wouldn't have boxed for a year and a half. That's not good for any fighter. You know, our other fighter, Canelo Alvarez, has been boxing. I think he's had 5 fights in less than 12 months. So he's managed to stay active. It's very difficult in the heavyweight division when you're trying to make these big fights and restrictions are coming in and, you know, rules are changing and travel restrictions are there. So it's just good to get him out. He boxed in December against Pulev, so it's not too bad. It's probably 2 or 3 months later than we'd really like. But, you know, he's fresh, he's ready. He's stayed in the gym since the Pulev win. And, you know, hopefully he can get this victory in a really important fight for AJ's career.
Eddie, obviously it's a massive test for AJ in the ring, but out of the ring it's a massive test for yourself, isn't it, and your team, because you're expecting 60,000 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The situation we're in, you know, with all the COVID protocols, so that's going to be a real test for you.
It is. I kind of feel like, well, I'd like to think we've ridden the worst of it. You know, we've gone from behind closed door events to bubbles to just the most horrific, you know, testing environments and, you know, rules changing with a day to go. And, you know, Andy's seen it across the world snooker and, you know, our pool and our darts events. Thankfully, our darts events is back up and running in Blackpool. We've got a massive crowd up there. We've just announced Josh Warrington and Katie Taylor, 20,000 people at Headingley on September the 4th. Now we've announced this September the 25th with probably 65,000 people at Spurs. So you just got to think on your feet. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And that's one thing this has taught us. But we have to abide by the regulations. You know, people talk about vaccines for live events. We're very much against that. You know, I think that we need to open up now. Yesterday was called Freedom Day for a reason. So we need to see those live events returning. We need to see normality. We need to allow people to do their job and go about their business now. And as always, we'll follow the guides, the rules, the regulations. But we hope now we've turned the corner and these live events can get back and running after what was a tremendous experience at the Euros.
Eddie, before I let you go, I've got 3 quick questions for you. Firstly, what platform is it on? How can I watch this?
You'll be able to watch this on Sky Sports box office on September the 25th in the UK.
Okay. Have you sorted out the undercard yet on this one?
Just working on it now. There'll be other World Championship fights. Obviously, we just announced the fight earlier today, so probably in the next week or so, you'll get the full undercard and looking to have a big one. It's important for us. It's a big statement to go, you know, and do a big show again. 65,000. It's a tremendous stadium. You know, first big fight at Spurs. And my dad did some fights at White Hart Lane, but this is a great stadium. It's going to be electric to see it full up. Can you give me a little sniff? Maybe one name as to who you hope to see on the undercard. Lawrence Okoli, who is managed by AJ as well, who just won the World Cruiserweight Championship, will defend his title on the card for sure. And, you know, looking at some big other domestic fights, some women's fights as well. You know, women's boxing's on fire right now, and, you know, we've got a busy old time coming up. We've got fight camp starts next week on DAZN, and from there, you know, we have about 15 or 16 weekends on the spin. So looking forward to getting back and looking forward to seeing fans again. Now, we've managed to have some great crowds in America. We had 74,000 at the Dallas Cowboys for the Canelo-Billy Joe Saunders fight. We just want to see it again in the UK.
Okay.
You know, I was lucky enough to go to England, Germany, and it was such a great feeling to be around people again. So bring on more live sport. Okay, my last question's got 2 parts to it. Part number 1, will we see Fury against Joshua at some stage in the future? Do you know what, Andy? I'd love to tell you yes, and I hope and pray. I don't really believe a lot that comes from that side. But listen, I hope that fight with them happens on October. I hope Tyson Fury wins. But right now, you know, the way everything's gone, let's just beat Oleksandr Usyk September 25th. This is going to be a tough fight, but that is the dream. The dream has always been for AJ to become undisputed heavyweight world champion. We won't stop till that happens. But if he loses on September 25th, that goes up in smoke. So all the focus on Oleksandr Usyk. Just curious, is there a rematch clause in this fight if he does lose? Yeah, there will be. There will be. It's a 2-fight deal in that respect. If there is one, if he wins the fight, he'll move on and he will fight, hopefully, the winner of Wilder against Fury. Okay. Eddie, you're a superstar. Thanks for all your wonderful answers. Have a great afternoon. There you go, Eddie Hearn, as I said, the chairman of Matchroom Promotions. Giving us some great answers there, actually. It's going to be interesting. It's good, you know, you both talked about it as well, that sports returning, boxing's coming back, 60,000 there as well. This is a big fight. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, to see live sport with like massive crowds. They said the Euros was fantastic. What a difference it makes. Yeah, and it makes a difference to the fight. It makes a difference to players when they're playing. It makes a difference to the fighters. Is there more edge and there's more tension in it? You get more reaction when you're actually fighting. When if you take a punch, you hear the crowd go, don't you? So yeah, rather than someone pressing a button and the wrong one. Yeah, the wrong one, and the booing, booing. You think, no, I've just knocked him out. What are you booing for? You know that's going to happen as well. Listen, we've got lots to talk about. If you want to talk about this fight, if you're very excited about it, you can. 08717 I've lost the number. 2233. This has never happened in 13 years.
08717223334. Don't dump it. Let it go out. Let people know I'm human. We're talking about Joshua against Usyk. You can talk about that. And Newcastle fans as well. You can have your say on everything about your club. That number again is 08717. I'll get it right this time. 223344. This is Drive on talkSPORT with me, Andy Goldstein, and Perry Groves with WeBuyAnyCar.com. They settle any outstanding finance so you don't have to.